The 2023 Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire is getting to the business end now. And now that we are getting into the round of the quarterfinals, we are not certain if we've seen all the dramas yet. It's been a very awesome tournament. On that note, welcome you all around the world to our preview of Nigeria versus Angola and DR Congo versus Guinea, mouth-watering encounters that are on the card for us. Kadugundari and James Agberibi there. Yeah, James was not around. Of course, today we'll be looking at these two matches together, what to expect in these encounters. Guys, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Femi. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, thank you, Femi. Good morning.
All right, James. Yesterday I thought you've escaped to Cote d'Ivoire, but thank God that you are here. To our fans across the world, please don't forget in the comment section, let us know what has impressed you a lot about the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. If I'm to write mine, I think I would write maybe a 40-leaf page because it's been awesome. Now let's get into the business of it. Kayode, Nigeria, as it were now, they are the only country left in the competition that has won it more than twice, 3 times, and they have this burden on them, the tag of being favorite to win the AFCON. Now, going into the game against Angola, is that going to be a lot of pressure for the Super Eagles?
Given what we have seen so far in the last 2 weeks, Femi, it will take a very, very strong man or woman to say this is going to be a stroll in the park. It's definitely not going to be for 2 reasons. Because of the environment of uncertainty that has accompanied all the so-called big teams. Number one. Number two, the fact that the Angolans have not played particularly badly. They've been one of the better performers at this AFCON. Of course, some of the so-called underdogs have done pretty well, and Angola are among the top of those level. In the first level of African football, like I always tell you that I have tiers that I put them. I think Nigeria and probably Ivory Coast, although Ivory Coast, this competition has not shown that they deserve to be in the top tier of African football. Of course, things could change. Like I've always said again, you need a game to spark your competition, to spark your tournament back to life. They did not too well in the group stages, but that massive win against Senegal could just be the feeling what they need to forge ahead. So I'm not going to rule anybody out now, but I think Nigeria has 1/8 chance, 1 in 8 chances of going through. All the 8 teams at this stage could go all the way and win. So Nigeria is not an exception. They are just 1 out of 8 teams jostling for the crown.
James, let's look at the ranking by FIFA. We know that what we've seen in this competition, paper has been shredded, no records have been thrown through the window. But Nigeria are ranked 42nd in the world at Angola 117. That signifies a huge gash in or gap, however you might choose to call it, in quality. You know, do you think that will matter tomorrow when the Super Eagles face the Palanca Negras?
Femi, with all what we've seen in this tournament, I think all those issue of this team is ranked higher than this team has been discarded. So nobody's talking about it anymore. It's about what you put into the game, what you display on the pitch. You know, that's what counts now. We've seen a lot of upsets. So the ranking, you just on paper, you know, just to make, just to fulfill our righteousness. For the game against Nigeria and Angola, that will not count. It's one of those games that we expect a very tough encounter. So whether one team is ranked higher than one, it has nothing to do with this game, especially what we've seen in this competition. It has proven that the ranking has nothing to do when it comes to reality. It's what you put in, that's what you get. So your ranking will not help you. So the Super Eagles team that I've seen, I want to believe they are experienced enough to know and what they've been saying in this tournament, that if you don't put in the shift, you are going to get the shock of your life. We've seen it happen countless times, and I want to believe that they are not looking at their position in the ranking. It's about getting to the pitch and doing the business. If you don't do the business, then you have yourself to blame. They know the kind of thing they're going to face. The Angolans have not lost in the last 9 games. The only team that the only non-African team that defeated them is Iran in a friendly game. Since then, they've gone 9 games, 5 wins and 4 draws. So show you that the Super Eagles have a battle in their hands, you know. So like I said, if I mean ranking or no ranking, you just have to come to the business.
Okay, Kyle, I think one thing that motivates players going into games is history. I remember Samuel Kwaraji, he died when Nigeria were playing against Angola. Then 2006 is still fresh in the memories of a lot of Nigerian football fans. But it seems that the current Super Eagles players, some of them do not even know history, because I remember after the win against Cameroon, so Olaino was saying that he didn't know that Nigeria had lost the final of I think 1984 AFCON to Cameroon on that very same pitch. Do you think that if some of these players, particularly Nigerians, know the history between Nigeria and Angola, they do not meet often when it comes to qualifiers, but in some key games like this, Angola have been a stumbling block. Do you think if they are prep with history between these two teams, that could help the players go into the game more prepared mentally?
I think the history that matters most, the most important thing is to prepare the mind of the players that they are on the verge of making their own history. They are on the verge of becoming the 4th Nigerian team ever to win the AFCON. That's the most important thing. The fact that Nigeria had that game against Angola in which Samuel Oparaji lost his life, the fact that the Angolans stopped us from, they are part of the reasons why we did not get to the World Cup in 2006, is of very how do I say this, small significance to these players, because how many of them, how old were the oldest in this team in 2006? That's like almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago. If you take 18 years out of the ages of Musa and whoever is the oldest in this team,
the senior players, yeah.
Yes, how old were they at that time? In 1989, none of them was born. So that in itself is not the motivation. The motivation is, as professional players, you have a job to do on Friday, go out and do it. Because Angola stands between you and the semifinals. If you beat Angola, you are taking one more step to the final. All you need to do is you have 3 games to play to win you have 3 games to win to lift the title, and all you need to do is, if you beat this, like I was telling some people on another platform, I said I don't want anybody to even talk about who are we likely going to meet in the semi-final or the final. The most important game in Nigeria's history as of today, Femi, is the game against Angola tomorrow. That's what everybody should be. We should be concerned about, including the players. So whatever has happened in the past is in the past. The most important thing is how they do against Angola. And I have fears, Femi, to be honest. Let me quickly share some with you. One of the fears I have with this team, this Nigerian team, is the fact that they played 4 games in this competition, and their best 2 games had been against the so-called bigger opposition when they had played Ivory Coast and Cameroon. When they played Equatorial Guinea and especially against Guinea-Bissau, that was a very, very pathetic performance. And you know what happens? They played this game with all expectations. When they played Ivory Coast, they won, not only win, they did very well. Everybody expected that they were going to do well against Guinea-Bissau. They did not. It was their worst performance so far in this competition. They won, of course, they won by an own goal. Now they took that and played excellently well against Cameroon. Now, which Super Eagles is going to come out against this lower ranked opposition? Like you said, Nigeria is ranked 42nd, Angola is ranked 117. That's a wide gap, although we shouldn't say too much store by FIFA rankings. This competition especially has shown that FIFA ranking is just FIFA rankings. It doesn't have any direct bearing on the pitch in 90 minutes. So that's my number one fear, that will this team raise their game when it matters, because once they play a lower ranked opposition, they tend to play to the strength of that opposition. If they are, I tell you, if we are going to play Senegal, you would have seen the best of the Super Eagles. But once they play all these so-called teams, and I must also say that Angola have not. They have shown this in this competition. I've seen their 4 games. They've shown that they could mix it with the best of the best. Although their defense has not played against Osimhen, they have not played against Lookman. So whatever, and their attack that scored that many goals, they've not played against Calvin Bassey, Trustekong, and the rest of the boys at the back. So it's a very, very interesting game that we look forward to.
Okay, thank you so much, Kyle. I think you should pull the call through to Pesero so that I can relay this message to the players.
Hopefully.
James, let's talk about Super Eagles formation before we look at the strength of the Angolans. It's usually a 5-3-2. Then the formation changes when the Super Eagles have the ball, or when they lose the ball. You know, the 2 wing backs join the attack when they have the ball, and the 4 back when the team lose possession. Do you think this is predictable? I'm sure the Angolans must have looked into this and say, how can we counter this?
No, I think Pesero decided to come up with this formation based on what he has. You know, the injuries and all. So his preferred formation is a 4-3-3, but the team was shipping in goals. The defense was one of the weakest points, the goalkeeper. So he had to work hard to improve, especially the defense. That was why the Super Eagles have only considered 1 goal. They are the only team, just like I said, have considered the least, and they're among the teams that are still remaining in the competition. So I think when they have the ball, it's 3. They start off with 3-4-3. Then if they don't have the ball, it's 5-4-1. You know, they just mixing things up. You know, so it's a good thing so that you're not being predictable. You know, because you know, when you always know that you play this formation. I mean, you have teams that will counter that. So by the time you mix it, you are a bit flexible. I mean, it's good to be flexible, you know, so that you don't appear as a team that they know how you're going to approach games. So for me, there's nothing bad about it. It's a tournament, and you meet all kinds of teams. You know, teams that will press you, teams that will counter you, teams, you know. So you just have to be prepared, and I think the coach has, because a lot of people have complained that the Super Eagles always appear predictable, you know. So, and like I said, the injuries to the team made he had to force his hand. You know, that's why most of the time you see the Super Eagles playing as if they are kind of negative, but he's playing to the strength of the team now. I think when he had the luxury of a lot of players that you know, the likes of Boniface, Awuni, and Didi. I think all those guys, he would have, you know, but he just had to play to the strength, and kudos to him that he was able to rectify some of the issues that the team faced, especially in the qualifiers. You know, when you had the team now solid when it comes to the defense, and when it comes to the counter attack, I think they are one of the best in the tournament. So hopefully we'll see how they fare against the Angolan side that also has shown that they can score goals.
Okay. Kyle, let's talk about Angola. Mabulu precisely catches my attention. 3 goals so far in the competition. I think he's one of the highest scorer who is still remaining in the competition. I know you've talked a lot about a couple of the Angolan players who have stood out for you so far in the competition. Like you also rightly said that they haven't played against a very tough defense like Congo, Bassi, and I know, and the likes of that. Do you think that this game will measure the strength of the Super Eagles of Nigeria? Because the Angolans, they have shown that they can be very, 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 very dangerous when it comes to the attack.
Yeah, Femi, they have shown that, and it's not about the Mabulu guy alone. You also have to talk about Gelson. Gelson is, for me,
Gelson Dala.
He's in fact a more dangerous player as far as I'm concerned. Sly on the ball, you don't see him coming. He always has a way of being invincible until he gets to score against you. He's always measuring his stand with the last man in your defense. So that's where I think the Super Eagles cannot afford to be complacent. They have to be very, very careful about these 2 guys. And these 2 guys do not play in isolation. They play with Freddie. we've talked about Freddie a lot. He's the captain of the side. He's the pivot around which the team operates. He knows, and he is the one who dictates how they play. So if you have a man on Freddie, you have cut half of the half of the strength of the Angolans. That's number one. Then number two, another thing that should work positively for the for Nigeria is the fact that Angola are going to be without their first choice goalkeeper, who was
Because it was
red
red carded,
carded
yeah, in that game against
in
Namibia.
their last game against Namibia. Of course, we don't know whether the Nigerian first choice goalkeeper is also going to be available or not. So that kind of cancels things out in that point. Then everybody, the Nigerians also have to be very careful about cards, about caution. Already they have like they have six caution, no, they have sorry, they have seven yellow cards so far in 4 games. The Angolans have 5 and 1 red card. So it sort of balances itself out in that way. And the problem with having cards at this stage is the fact that it not only affects your team in the match you're playing, it will also affect your chances if you are going to miss the next game. So you are not only doing that. So those who have to be very careful and are going to be those who are in the defense. I know the goalkeeper is also on a card. The goalkeeper is on a card. I know has to be careful, and I think Seidu's problem is because he's always late in his reaction. That's why I think Seidu also has to be very careful. And then I have analyzed the cards. Femi, this is where I think the Super Eagles has to be careful. Of all the cards that they have gotten, only one has come in the first half. All the other 6 have come in the second half, especially 3 of them have come in time added on. Time added, that should tell you that they cannot afford to slip up. If you have 6 cards and out of your 6 cards, 3 came in the 90th minute and above. That's a red flag that you cannot afford to slip up at that time, because this Angola will keep coming at you until the final whistle. So if you now relax mentally because it's 90 minutes and you have like 4 or 5 minutes added time, that 4 or 5 minutes added time could be the time they are going to strike. And when they strike at that time, it is impossible to fight back. So it's a mental thing that the players have to. I guess what I'm seeing, the coaches are also seeing it, that you cannot afford to pick up cards at that time, Femi. Second half, not only second half, time added on. So
Okay.
those are very key.
Okay. Of course, because of time, we will have loved to look at the issue of if Stanley Mabale couldn't make it for the game, the implication. But Jose Pesero has said that he has confidence in Francis Suzo. Should Mabale fail to get the late fitness test, I'm sure it will be taking place today. So we'll get our fingers crossed as far as that is concerned. James, let's talk about DR Congo versus Guinea. Of course, the Super computers that has also failed in a number of predictions in this competition has given it to DR Congo. I wouldn't know why, but they will tell you that's computer. But before then, these 2 teams have met 3 times in the past in the group stages, a draw apiece, and of course, 1 win each and a draw. 1 win each and a draw, I beg your pardon. So where do you think this pendulum will swing at this time? No 3 points, no draw at this time. Is an outright win, and you're in the semifinals.
Femi, I'm looking at 2 things that might happen in this encounter. It's either one of them win by maybe 1-0, or the game you drag. The 2 teams look evenly balanced. If you check, they have as if they have a similar the way they've played. So this one you can't come out and say this team will overcome this side, the other side easily. They for me they look well matched. So I see whereby they will cancel each other out, and one team will just luckily score and hold on to it. I don't see a wide margin scoreline in this encounter, especially knowing the fact that it's a knockout game, and whoever gets the first goal always have that psychological edge. And they look like a team that once they get that first goal, they will try as much as possible. And I'm talking about the 2 teams now. Whoever team possible to sit on it and fight it out to the end of the encounter, or they drag themselves into extra time and eventually penalties. So that's the way I'm seeing going to win the game, Femi, it's going to be very difficult for us. I don't know. I don't judge because the way they've gotten to this stage, it's not as if they're not the kind of teams who just be scoring goals for fun. You know, they are very tight in their approach and they're kind of simple to frustrate you and hold on to that score. So for me, it's a tight and to come out and say this team, the hot goal deciding it, or they cancel themselves out and decide for a penalty.
Okay, Akadi, as we wrap up now, let's look at any team that eliminates Cape Verde or Equatorial Guinea in this competition. That even while all of us were preparing for extra time and possible penalties in the round of 16, but they did it in the final, the first quarterfinal since 2017.
I've seen in this competition.
Yes, I'm 14. I'm 14. It.
Talking about any supercomputer after what we are seeing in this competition so far, I wouldn't think Equatorial Guinea were going to defeat Guinea. And I told you as such before, Femi, that if there's going to be, like James said, this could be a very tight game, very, very tight, because both teams are almost equally matched. But if there's going to be an outright winner within regulation time, I think it will be Guinea, because the Guineans are coming into the knockout stages stronger than in the group stages. Naby Keita is back. Gorossi, the guy from Stuttgart, is back. They are coming at the time that the coaching crew will be thanking whoever they believe in, that they are stronger when they need it. Now they have it's like they are like twice as strong as they were in the group stages, and that's where I think they are going to end this game. Keita back, and he had an instant impact against Equatorial Guinea, and Guirassy also threatened a lot. That he gave the others confidence to score because he had a few chances that could have gone either way. So for me, this Guinean team are stronger now than they were in the group stage, and that's why I think they are going to win this game.
Okay, I even also think that they find themselves in perhaps the strongest or one of the strongest group that we have at the AFCON, because when you play against Cameroon and Senegal in the same group and you are able to make it out, I think it shows that you have a substance. James, finally, let's talk about DR Congo still. Their last knockout games, 4 in the AFCON, has been decided on penalties. We can't say this could be another penalty shootout against Guinea.
So that's why I said, that's why I gave 2 options. Either the odd goal decide this game or they go through penalties. We've seen teams reach the final after getting to the knockout stage. We've seen teams drag themselves all the way to the final. Argentina did it in 1990. After they defeated Brazil and they got in the round of 16, they got to the final. They defeated Yugoslavia on penalties. Then England on penalties. Egypt in the last AFCON, all through, they just went all the way via penalties. So you cannot use the knockout. However in it, that's the most important. It's not about aesthetics or scoring all the number of goals. It's about getting this is the business. That's why they call it the business end. It's pure business now. No, there's no to it about it. So if they get to this, the most important thing is how they get to the semi-final. If they get to via penalty shootout, the most important thing is they get to the semi-finals. That's the business. The whole thing now is get the job done. However, nobody cares. Just get the job done. So if it's about penalties, fine.
Okay, of course, even the supercomputer that Kyle doesn't want to hear, the permutation has been very, very close between these two. So we have 2 mouth-watering encounters on our hands tomorrow as the quarterfinal stage of the 2023 AFCON gets underway. Nigeria versus Angola, then DR Congo versus Guinea is going to be mouth-watering. Like we say, DR Congo and Guinea, this is going to be the 4th time they'll be meeting at the AFCON. 1 win apiece and a draw. Let's see who's going to take the heck this time. For Nigeria, we're wishing every one of them all the best. Like I said, Nwabali today will be going through a late fitness test to know. Kyle and James, thank you so much for your thoughts on the show today.
Thank you very much, Femi. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, Femi. Yeah, all the best. All the best to all the teams in the quarterfinal.
Okay, all right. And to our producer, a big shout out to you. Thank you for doing this. And to our fans across the world, a bigger shout out to you. Thank you for your company. Thank you for your support. Since we started the countdown, you've been with us. And also click on that notification button so that you get the video as soon as they drop. You remember that the business end of the AFCON will be getting the VAR will continue the impeccable line that they've maintained since the tournament began on January 13th. We'll see you all tomorrow when we come to preview the matches that will be going down